Today, I'm going to walk you through an art technique that can calm your mind, release stress, and tap into your inner creativity. It's called Neurographic Art. I'll explain more as we go along with creative variations and ideas at the end. Let's begin. Now, in terms of supplies, you'll need paper. Either watercolor paper works, or even basic printer paper would be perfect. A black Sharpie marker, masking tape, pencil crayons or markers, or any coloring tool you have on hand, like watercolors, pastel, or even crayons. Step number 1 is to set an intention for this piece. You want to write down an emotion, problem, challenge, or even a goal you want to explore through this process. The next step is you're just going to flip over your paper and you're going to tape it down to your workstation. Now, as a bonus, this is going to actually help create a really beautiful aesthetic border once we're done. Step number 3 is to take your Sharpie marker and begin drawing easy peasy freeform lines right across that page. As you do this, you want to hold gentle focus on that problem or emotion you wrote down in step number 1. The key here is to just allow your hand to move naturally, flowing in whatever direction it wants to take. You're going to do this for about 3 to 5 seconds. And if any lines stop in the middle of the page, go ahead and extend them out right to the edge. Now you're going to round out all your intersections. Basically, you're going to draw curves at every line that intersects another line. And the rule of thumb here is that there's 4 curves at every intersection. Now you're going to do this for all the intersections in your drawing. Step number 5, we're going to smooth out all the lines by gently thickening them up so that all the lines kind of blend seamlessly into the intersections. You can also round out those intersection points even more in this step. This part of the process feels incredibly satisfying and calming. It almost feels meditative as you focus on softening and connecting everything. And personally for myself, this is the step where I feel most at peace. Kind of feels like I'm quietly working through these little challenges and fixing things on the page by rounding out all the rough edges and bringing a sense of harmony to it all. And also a reminder here that there's no right or wrong way to do this. You can make your lines as thick or as thin as you'd like. And I'm actually going to share a few examples of both at the end of this video. So in the next step, we're going to take a step back and we're going to notice areas where our composition is kind of empty, and we're going to fill in with some extra shapes. And here you also want to make sure that you're going to round out all your intersections and smooth out all your lines. The next step is we're going to fill in our drawing with color. So you have a few different options here. You can use markers, you can use watercolor, you can use crayons, or even pencil crayons. Here I'm using alcohol ink markers, but I also use normal simple Crayola markers, and that work beautifully as well. So the strategy I like to use here is I like to start with a color that kind of calls out to me. I don't try to think about it too much. I just grab a color that really speaks to me, and then I like to add it in threes, and I like to add it kind of spread out in the composition as well. And then once I'm done with this color, I put that down, and then I grab the next color that speaks out to me. And then I continue that until the whole composition is filled out. All right, so now that we've gotten a feel for the process, let's take a quick moment here to talk about what neurographic art actually is. So neurographic art is a therapeutic art form created by Dr. Pavel Piskarev in 2014. Since then, it's become a widely used technique in art therapy. Now, some people have actually used it to work through things like chronic pain, post-surgery recovery, anxiety, or simply to feel more grounded. Now, the name itself combines 2 ideas: neuro, referring to the brain and its pathways, and graphic, meaning imagery or visual expression. The beauty of this process is how simple and freeform and intuitive it is. There is no steep learning curve here and no art experience is required. One last thing to keep in mind is that the most important thing in this practice is the process itself and not the outcome. Alright, so once you've finished adding color to your composition, now it's time to take off that masking tape to reveal your final piece. And this feels kind of like that crowning glory moment where you're seeing your final composition kind of come to life. Alright, before we move on to the ideas portion of this video, I want to share with you the final traditional step, which is reflection and meditation. So just take notice of how your body is feeling, how you're emotionally feeling right now compared to how you're feeling when you first started, or you can even reflect on that initial problem or challenge you wrote down in the first step. So now we're at the idea portion of the video. Now these ideas are basically different variations of what you can do with neurographic art if you want to step outside the basic rules. So the first idea here is we're going to break the rules a little bit and we're going to leave some white space around our design. So that's what I'm doing here with this diagonal design. And then in this design, I'm on purpose using simple kid-friendly Crayola markers to show you don't need any fancy coloring tools to do this process. You can color it in with pretty much anything you have on hand at home. The second idea here is that you can use normal household objects to trace shapes. So a popular shape is often circles. So you can find anything circular, but you can use any shape. The next idea is if you choose to use watercolors, you can apply a layer of water to your shape first, and then you can apply your watercolor over top, and this makes it much easier to apply the color, and also it gives a really beautiful light and muted look to your watercolors. The next idea is adding texture on top of watercolor paint using salt. So salt reacts beautifully and gives a really cool effect once you apply it right over top of wet watercolor paints. It's going to give kind of like a starry night kind of effect, and it's really beautiful. So the next idea is giving your piece a mixed media vibe by switching up the medium that you're working with. So here, majority of my piece was in watercolor, and then I added pencil crayon into some of the segments, and I find it gives a really interesting texture difference and contrast when you're adding multiple mediums within your same composition. So next is adding doodles within these doodles using a simple white paint marker and a thin black Sharpie marker. Now here I'm working intuitively and just adding these marks that come to mind, like these arches and polka dots, and even just simple straight lines work as well. So the key here is to have fun, be gentle with yourself, and just add in whatever brings you joy. The next idea is adding intuitive words into some or all of the segments to help express emotions and feelings that you still might be experiencing. Or you can just add in words that just resonate with you and you just truly enjoy, that bring you happiness and that you want to bring into your artwork. So the next idea is varying the thickness of your intersections and lines. So I wanted to show you two different options here. The one on the left, I did really fine, thin lines and intersections. And the one on the right, I did really thick and juicy intersections and really thick lines. So I just wanted to show you both of the options. There are so many fun ways to get creative with neurographic art. Just take a quick peek on Google and you'll see how people are getting creative with this technique. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and give neurographic art a try. And if you want more chilled out and relaxed art tutorials, then you can follow me on my YouTube channel and also on my Instagram. And as always, sending you lots of peace, love, and color your way.